Welcome to the channel once again. So today we are going to discuss about why some astrological predictions are going wrong sometimes. Is this because astrology is not real? If not, what is the real reason for that? So let's get started. The first reason is the basic reason that everyone knows, that if you didn't have that correct time of birth, the ascendant changes in the D1 chart. D1 chart means that basic horoscope that everyone uses, that we get by giving that date of birth and time of birth. But in the D1 chart, the ascendant takes 2 hours to change from one ascendant to the ascendant, from one ascendant to the other ascendant. So even if you didn't have that correct time of birth also, still you will be getting that correct ascendant and planetary alignment from the ascendant. But there is one more chart, it is called the D9 chart, which we still didn't discuss yet. In this chart, the ascendant of this chart changes in between 12 to 13 minutes. Okay, so if you didn't have that correct time of birth in this 13 minutes span, the ascendant of the D9 chart changes. So this is the basic details everyone knows. That's common, that if you didn't have that correct time of birth, then an astrologer reading the predictions will be going wrong because the time is not correct. And even in my consultations, I have this experience. Like people are not sure about their correct time of birth. Okay, so that's the basic reason. Not only D9 chart is for marriage, which is used after the second half of your life, after the marriage. The more details of these charts we will discuss in the later videos. So there is not only D9 chart, there are D10 chart for career, D5 chart for children's, D4 chart for properties. There are many horoscopes to check for a single person itself. Okay, so an astrologer have to go through all of these charts to really say a final prediction. But most people only use D1 and D9 chart only. Like everyone only uses this, but to really say the final prediction, one have to go through all of these charts. And let's say an astrologer does all of these things, like goes like seen all the charts and ready to say a final prediction for a person. And now also why predictions are going wrong, and that's the main reason. And the main reason is astrologers failing to bring that revolutionary touch while reading the horoscopes, while looking the planetary alignment of a person. What I mean is, with change in generations, the way these planets are influencing an individual have changed, which is different from the past. Okay, for example, let's take a planet for example. Let's take Moon here. Moon represents your mother in astrology. Moon is a feminine energy, right? Moon is a female. So back in the days, taking care of taking care of the children, taking care of the homeland, taking care of the husband is more of a feminine thing, which only women do back in the days when astrology was founded. So that's the way this energy were designed when astrologies were founded. Okay, so with change in generations, taking care of children, doing that feminine, doing the things which only women used to do in these generations, a man is also doing. So what happens is the energy of moon in your horoscope is not only applicable for female figures in your life, not only applicable to the mother, but it can be the other way too, a manly figure too. So reading astrological predictions these days is much more difficult than it used to be, because we need to find what these planets really represents into you. With change in generations, the way of influence of these planets have changed. First, we need to check how this moon is influencing your life, because astrologers are following like the traditional system, like following the traditional method. Okay, but with change in generations, these influencement of these planets, their energy have changed. So, and the predictions is going wrong because they are using they are still using that traditional method in these generations. But in reality, the way of influencing of these planets have completely changed. changed. Let's take sun for example. What the sun represents? Sun is authority, sun is power. That authoritative figure is represented by sun. So back in the days, these roles were only held by the men. Okay. So with change in generation, females are also in the powerful position in the world, like presidents, CEOs. We can see females also holding in that position. So with change in generation, the energy of sun also changed. So from the traditional method, the way astrology is designed, with change in generations, the way of influencing of these planets have changed. So astrologers still following that traditional methods while looking at these planets in your horoscope will be the area where the predictions will be going wrong. So first, you need to find how this planet is really representing into you. Forget traditional method. Find how this planet is influencing you in this generation. So predicting astrological results is much harder in these days than it used to be. Not only this difference between powerful person between man and female, now the different so much of genders is also coming into play. So based on that, the energy also change in these areas. So it's really a trick of a puzzle to really find the energy. Okay, so that's why these predictions are going wrong. Likewise, if we take any planets, we can see that change. If you take Mars, Mars represents that strength, that bodybuilding, right? In this day and age, females also doing. We can take, if we take any planets, now it's all general neutral. So the significations of these planets is really changed from generations. So since it is like that, the way of influencing, the way of influencement of these planets will also be changing in this generation. Okay, so the traditional method of astrology will no longer works in this generation. So that's why the predictions are going wrong. Okay, so back in the days, these predictions were extremely accurate, where sun only represents males, where moon only represents mother. So back in the days, when it supports this energy, when this planet supports the traditional methods, back in the days, in that case, that time in back in the days, these predictions were accurate. We can see that in many stories, right, where all astrology's predictions were very accurate, like Mahabharata or any stories. We can say that predictions were very accurate back in the days. But in these generations, we have to just give some edit to it, and now the predictions will be extremely accurate. And how to really find the energy of these planets in your life? How to really find these planets really acts the way you think? The sun, the sun represents manly figures in your life. The sun represents only manly figures in your horoscope, or is it representing a female figures? How to find that? We will discuss that in the later videos. So let me stop this by an example. For example, let's take our grandparents. Let's take our grandparents. Back in the days, they may not have used the smartphone, right? But in this generation, they're using smartphone. So there, with change in generation, the way we see them also have changed. Okay, so same likewise, the planets also changed with its revolutionary transformation, and that's why reading an horoscope in this time period, in these generations, is is much more harder. We'll get really confused because by looking at the position of the sun, by looking at the position of the sun in your horoscope, astrologers is getting confused. Is it really representing your father, or is it really representing the manly figures in your life or female figures in your life? Same like Mars, same goes to Moon, because all these planets are now general neutral. Now we really have to find how it really is influencing you. We can find it in astrology, which we will discuss in the later videos. So not knowing about this is what making astrologers going to wrong predictions, because they are seeing sun only as a manly figure, moon only as a female figure, and that's why these predictions are going wrong. So bye for now. We'll be seeing in the next video with another insights. Bye.